We have a question from the viewers. Why does my phone fall asleep so quickly? It seems like right after I do something, it's falling asleep before I even get a chance to continue what I was doing, therefore needing to unlock the phone, type in my passcode, and continue what I'm doing. Why can't I let it get more time for me to do things? Well, I want to check a few things on the phone first. First of all, let's go to my favorite app, Settings. And next we're going to go to Display and Brightness. Here, we're going to take note of a few things. First of all, auto lock. I have my auto lock set to 4 minutes. This is the time, under normal circumstances, the phone will automatically dim and lock the screen when there's no activity being done. I would highly not recommend choosing never, as if you forget to lock the phone, the screen will eat up all your battery. On the same note, 30 seconds is also quite annoying because it's a little too soon for me. Next, let's go back into Settings, and we will take a look at battery. Now, if low power mode is on, this may override other settings, such as your auto lock settings, and it may disable a few other things that you may or may not use in order to save battery. It gives you this option automatically after about 20% of the battery is left. It will ask you if you want to enter low power mode, and doing so will make the battery icon in the top right look yellow, and it will disable a few things, and also it will try to control the brightness and auto lock the screen fairly quickly in order to conserve battery. I'm going to turn that off. I rarely like low power mode. I usually don't have any battery problems, and if I do, I just don't use the phone. But it's a good thing to use if you are in a pinch and really need to conserve your battery at all costs. Now, if you absolutely like it to dim, but find it annoying to wake the phone up every time and have to enter the passcode every time, here's a little tip for you to change that habit so it's a little less annoying. You don't have to enter that passcode each and every time. We're going to go back into my favorite app, which is Settings. We're going to scroll down to Touch ID and Passcode. We're going to enter your passcode if you have one. And then from here, you'll have the unlock settings, the fingerprint settings, etc. Touch ID is actually a really good idea. It's very secure. The fingerprint doesn't go anywhere outside the phone. You'll know that because if you ever set up a new phone, it doesn't remember your fingerprint or download the fingerprint from a previous device. It's all just used to authenticate within the phone, and then it uses that authentication to then use online. The authentication goes online, but not the fingerprint. So you can enable it, as I do, the fingerprint to unlock the phone, which would help you from typing in the passcode each and every time you unlock it. In fact, if you have the Touch ID sensor, it's just as easy as holding your thumb or finger on that Touch ID sensor, therefore eliminating the need to type in the passcode every time. You will still need to memorize your passcode, as other functions will still require it, and if you turn the phone off or wait a couple days without ever typing in your passcode, the phone wants to make sure it's still you, but that is a handy way to avoid having to constantly type in the passcode. As you can see, I use my fingerprint authentication for Apple Pay, and same for downloads and purchases through the Apple, iTunes, and App Store. I have 3 fingerprints set up at the moment. I use my 2 thumbs and my right index finger. I can add more if I really wanted to, but those are the ones that I pretty much use all the time to unlock my phone whenever. But anyway, going down here is really what I wanted to show just to everybody. Even if you don't have Touch ID on your phone, this setting will be handy for unlocking if you don't want to type your passcode each time, is really just turn passcode off. If you turn your passcode off, it won't let you, it won't have any security tied up on there. It won't bother you for the passcode ever. Now, your phone is a little less secure It doesn't have a passcode on it, therefore that data on there can be accessible by anyone who actually has the phone in front of them. Again, many people have different ways of using the phone. If you're worried about the data on the phone getting into the wrong hands, I would highly suggest having a passcode. But that is another option if it's really annoying for you. An iPad, and for one example, if you keep your iPad at home a lot, maybe you don't need to worry about a passcode. If you have kids, on the other hand, maybe a passcode is good, especially when downloading stuff, making purchases online. However, there is still another option right here. Require passcode settings. If you don't have Touch ID, and you do really want a passcode for security, but you don't want to type it in every single time you unlock it, this is what I highly suggest. I used this. When I had a phone before the Touch ID, I used this in a much different way. So, require passcode. Now, my only option is immediately, because I have Touch ID on. If you have Touch ID where it authenticates using your fingerprint, you have no choice but to always require that passcode. But if your Touch ID is off, or if you don't even have Touch ID on your phone, you can set this setting. It'll be right in this section here. It'll say require passcode, and it'll give you a different amounts of time. My favorite was about 2, 3, or 4 hours, because if my phone is sitting somewhere, and let's say I lost it, or I went to bed, it's some place where I haven't used it in a while, that's really the only time I needed it to ask me for a passcode. Because that's the only chance that it would be in someone else's hand. If I just used it 5 minutes ago, there's really no need to ask for the passcode again. I'm pretty sure I have at least my eyes on it, if not my hands. If not, it's always in my pocket. So, again, you have to think about the way you use the phone, the potential security risks of having no passcode for a certain amount of time, but this was my favorite for not ever needing to enter the passcode, like right after I just used the phone. It just went, maybe it just auto-locked, or maybe I want to save the battery, I purposely locked it. Maybe you have a compulsion to lock the phone constantly, and it's just annoying to unlock that phone. That's the setting I would choose if you didn't have the Touch ID set up. And that's really it. I mean, that goes through a lot of the passcode information. Hope that helps.